Hi everyone, welcome to our community conversations. I'm Tally, my pronouns are she, her. We're doing things a little bit differently today. We're not on Instagram Live, we are on Facebook and YouTube. So if you don't want to miss any of these chats, then please head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And also hit the like on Facebook if you haven't already. Today we are going to be speaking with Zayna Ratty, who is the chair of Oxford Pride. I'm going to bring her along shortly, so we're going to have a chat about all the things that she does with Oxford Pride. And yeah, if you want to get involved in any of the things that we're doing or any of these conversations, then please drop us an email at info@portsmouthpride.org.uk and start it with the subject as community conversation. So shall we bring Zayna in? Hey,
I'm in.
So yes, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. I want to thank you as well for having me on your virtual Pride event. Everyone has been really impacted by COVID, but Oxford Pride, you guys adapted extremely well, and you were extremely brave by hosting the entire event. Not normally a chair's role.
No, not normally.
But you're not like other chairs. So I guess my first question is really, how did you get involved in Oxford Pride?
I actually got involved. Really, I went to Pride one year, so I was training to be a psychotherapist. And one of the things they really recommend you do is you volunteer, and you volunteer in kind of a mental health setting. Mm-hmm. And I always knew that I wanted to volunteer in an LGBTQIA plus health setting. Yeah. So I went along to Pride, and there was a charity there called Oxford Friend, which is a mental health charity. And I started volunteering with them. Mm-hmm. And then I became chair of Oxford Friend. Okay. And and getting a theme here, yeah. And I like get involved, have these great ideas, and then I actually have to carry them out. And so I got involved with them, and from there I began to get involved in Pride itself.
Okay, so did you start sort of doing a volunteer? So you were the link between the mental health like charity and sort of Pride, and then got involved in sort of Pride activities?
So I went on as I joined the committee at kind of the end of a Pride year, and then the next year became community liaison officer. So that kind of link between the charity that I was already working in and Oxford Pride. So I was community liaison officer for 2 years, and then thought, wouldn't it be great if we got some more BAME visibility out there? Yeah. And I ran for chair, which I did.
Got it very successfully.
So, yeah. Be careful what you wish for, I guess you could say, hey.
I can appreciate that sentiment. But no, I think that I sort of, as you're saying that with BAME representation, you and I first met. There's an organisation for the organisers of Pride, which is the UK Pond organisation, or the UK Pride Organisers Network. I'm really bad with acronyms. And you and I met, and I think one of the things that really kind of stood out is, in a room full of LGBT people, I think that there was very few people of colour, and also very few women of colour that were sort of in the chair role. And I think it was only you and I that actually were the two female colours or female chairs that were people of colour.
Yeah. It's when you're looking around a room, and Oxford Pride actually bid for UK Pride 2021, which we didn't get. But so when I'm stood at the front of that room and I'm looking out at that room, I'm like, this is probably why I didn't go to Pride, or I didn't engage in LGBTQIA plus spaces, because I didn't feel a tremendous sense of belonging within them. There was nobody that looked like me.
And I think it's also really difficult anyway, being from a mixed background as well, because there's even few people that kind of have similarities with sort of that two meshes of culture kind of coming together, and then to be within the LGBTQ plus IA spectrum, it's an interesting place to be.
I once did a talk a few years ago, and I called it a minority within a minority. In that to go to Pride and to see someone who you see some physical belonging towards is pretty rare. And we're fortunate that Oxford is a really diverse place, and so within the attendees that come to Pride, there is diversity. But still, when you're looking at the people who, and this is really relevant right now, when you're looking at the people that have the power to make a change, they aren't people who have a lived experience like you and I would.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult to try to engage with, the whole point of Pride is to be inclusive and to be inclusive of everyone. And it's hard to sometimes almost find ways to break down those barriers. I know that I've struggled. Portsmouth is it's a much more diverse city now than it was when I was growing up. And I think that, I sometimes I don't even know where to begin with sort of trying to get minorities involved within the LGBTQ plus events, because there's also so much stigma attached still culturally within sort of with smaller minority groups, and it's how we kind of break down those barriers. And I think we're starting to see it kind of happen on a more national scale. But when you get it down to the nitty gritty of your event and your Pride and the things that you're running, just trying to get involvement from different groups of individuals can be challenging, especially when you do it. None of us do this as our full-time job, as you said. You're a psychotherapist, so we're doing all of this in our limited free time, which can always be a struggle. So yeah, if people sort of that are watching this in the Oxford area who think, actually, I would really love to get involved, how is the best way for people to kind of do that?
If somebody wants to come forward and get involved, yes, please. We've delayed our AGM, so we would normally have held our AGM by now, and we've delayed it until September. And we usually have it at the town hall. We're not entirely sure that the town hall will be open, so we have all this uncertainty, but we still know that we want to bring people into the committee. So you can go to our website, which is oxfordpride.uk. You can email me, which is chair@oxfordpride.uk, and just go, I have this skill set. That this is not 3 or 4 people running a Pride. We were looking at having in excess of 10,000 people this year.
Wow.
Across 2 sites.
That's
and
amazing.
Including a parade. So it takes more than 2 or 3 people to put this on, and at the moment we're 14 people.
That's
and we are
crazy.
I'm quite glad that I was chair of a much smaller charity for a couple of years before I took over Pride, because if you're going straight in and you don't have that experience of being in charge of a charity, it can be really difficult to adapt.
It is a really daunting to have a board, because Portsmouth Pride as well is like we've got a good number of volunteers, but we are all still volunteers, and we're a very small team, and we try and sort of do a lot. So the same, if anybody wants to get involved in Portsmouth Pride, again, drop us an email, because we're always looking for people that have the passion and the drive to do it. And also sometimes it's nice to just get more people in, because they've got fresh ideas of things that you haven't really thought of. And when you've been sort of involved for a couple of years, you kind of get into the routine of, these are the things we know how to do, so how can we adapt? And I think COVID has really tested every single Pride organisation, every single organisation or everywhere. We rely so heavily on that face-to-face contact, and I didn't realise it until COVID happened. And we were kind of like, wow, we can't do all the events that we have planned. We can't engage with people in the same way we would normally. So now we've had to adapt and come online and do, things like this just to get more engagement. And I mean, your Pride event was, you guys did a really, really good job on that. And I think you were saying you didn't have as much time to plan it as you would have liked, I think.
Well, what we'd done is we'd initially planned, because we're at the end of May, beginning of June always traditionally. We're kind of one of the first Prides, and we thought at that time, stuff around COVID is moving all the time, but we were going on the recommendation that peak would be at the end of May, beginning of June. So we knew that we were likely to be in the eye of the storm. So we cancelled quite early.
Yeah.
We were aiming to do an in-person event later on in the year, which we've also said we're not going to do now. So that's why we were like, well, we want to do something. What of our festival events, for instance, is transferable to an online platform? So we got the entertainment officer and the festival officer and the sponsorship officer, and I had quite a few, and the social media officer actually had lots and lots of quite late / sleepless nights trying to put together some things to go out over the week that we would normally have done.
Yeah.
And once we'd done that, we were hoping to put together some videos, like hosting videos and performers videos, and put them out on Saturday, which would have been Pride Day itself.
Yeah.
That grew
as it always does.
As it always does, from lots of pre-recorded videos for lots of different reasons, grew into a 3-hour live show, and then a pre-recorded historical parade prior to that in the day. And then it was, okay, so if it's the live show, we need the links, and okay, Zayna, you can host Pride for 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon with no rehearsal, with getting some of the stuff in to go out at like 2:00 that afternoon.
Well, it keeps you on your toes. I think everything that you do as a Pride organisation and every event that you put on there's always things to learn from, and it definitely will always keep you on your toes. And you did a really good job. I mean, at Portsmouth, we were extremely lucky. We have the amazing Cherry Liqueur. She's had to adapt. She's been doing her bingo on Tuesday because we can't go into any venue. She's been doing that online. So we were lucky we've kind of had her to host it, which is fabulous, because I would not want to have been in your position. I can barely manage these talks.
It was a long day. Can I just say that? It was a long night. I think we finished talking about it at like 2 a.m. and then we got up and carried on talking about it, and then got some extra content in, and then it was just as it was coming in. It was as it was coming in, and I had the most fun doing it. And the most hilarious moment was my amazing non-exec director, Minnie, had some connection problems, and so he couldn't hear me, but he could hear the production team, and this production team who I said, can you just come and put some videos together and just link them together and put them out, and they're like yeah, and then it just kind of went, well, can we go live? Can we show videos from other prides? Can we have performers? Can we have guests? Can we have co-hosts? And I want 10 of them. And so the JJA Productions didn't sleep for about 3 days because we're going, well, we could do that, and we could do this, and we could do that. And that's how it grew and grew. And I was saying the questions, and then I was waiting for them to be relayed to my non-exec, who I could obviously see in front of me. But this is kind of delay where you kind of go, la, 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 lift music. And I was off in a little world of my own. And all of a sudden, one of the production team went, talk. And I wasn't even looking at the camera. I was looking down like this, going, okay, what question am I going to ask next? And then I just looked up at the camera and went, what? No.
It is really weird having someone in your ear when you're
trying to talk and listen at the same time.
The hardest thing, I think, with all of this going digital is probably for performers, because Aaron, as amazing as he always is, kicked off a lot of our he was the one that kind of was kicking us off and doing some lives, because he organised a live for the Portsmouth Pride Youth Society, and I got roped into playing, which I really enjoyed. But you kind of finish a song and then there's just no one there. There's nothing.
No feedback.
And it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, Oxford Pride, set the bar really for the online events, because you guys are the first one, and that that was really positive, and it was amazing to see you guys pull everything together so quickly. And I think that there's the thing that I personally quite enjoy about the network that we have is it kind of is that kind of extended sort of pride like family, as it were, because it's really wonderful to see what the other prides are doing, and get that opportunity, especially for Portsmouth, because we're quite a new pride comparatively to a lot of the prides. But to really have the opportunity to speak with, you know, people like yourself, you know, the guys from Newry and Belfast and London, and Northern Pride, and learn so much, which, you know, I'm really thankful for.
You can learn from our mistakes. We did this wrong.
But no, it's always it's a really positive experience. I think when I came to my first conference, it was absolutely brilliant. But yes, back onto Oxford Pride, because you guys have been, like, we're quite new. You guys have been running for a really, like, quite a long time now, especially with the size and scale of your event as well.
Yeah, so 2003.
Wow.
We haven't always had a parade. That came in a little bit later, but it started, and my and I've already mentioned this, so I'm going to mention him again because he's amazing. My non-exec director, Minnie, was one of the original people that helped set up Pride, and kind of said, oh, could we have a little picnic, and enough people kind of turned up, and then it grew from there. So yeah, we're not far off our 20th year, and wow. Things have you know, we've moved location, things have grown, we've added the parade, we've added the festival, so we've just tried to, and this year the theme was diversity.
Good theme.
Because we wanted to showcase the diversity within our city, really. We didn't want people to just go, oh, well, you know, isn't Pride just a party? Or isn't Pride just for young people? Or isn't Pride for people that aren't BAME? And we wanted to get through that and just go, actually, Pride is for anybody that wants to come. And the amount of every year I stand at somewhere in Pride and I have a tear in my eye, knowing that all of the hassle, and believe me that it comes with hassle, you know, all of the hassle and all of the sleepless nights and all of the constant meetings, and it all goes into that moment people can feel safe and belong. And I always used to be in the parade, and I used to dress up, and it was always great fun. And then when I took a committee post, I stopped dressing up as much. And so I went as Storm one year from X-Men.
Oh, awesome. I'm a big Marvel fan, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. I thought I want a superhero, got to be a BAME one. Storm will do. And I just happened to have a leather corset, so it worked. I only had to buy a wig, and so you know, so I didn't march in the parade last year because I was in charge with Dale, the entertainment officer, of the second site in Westgate, our community stage, which was a new thing last year. We're going to carry it on. It's got some great feedback on running that stage as well as the main stage. And one of my daughters actually marched in the parade, and I was just like, that's my baby. So that was it. So it's quite nice to see that the things that I'm doing now, I'm kind of in my 40s, are benefiting people who are younger, who might feel, well, this is not a place for me to go, or for me to let my kids go. This is a place that everybody can go.
Yeah, and I think that's what a majority of prides really look to try and encompass, is an environment that has a little bit of everything for everyone. And being able to do that is a hard task sometimes, but it is worth it. And I know what you mean with all the blood, sweat and tears that you put into it. And I think by the end of, we normally take July off after our event in June, just so that everyone can kind of recoup, and then you kind of come back a month later and it starts up again, and you have to put all your energy and effort into something that is for everyone. I think my favorite thing is always the stories. we get sort of messages and emails from people that have attended our Pride, and it's the young people. I think in 2018, we as a committee were just really unbelievably overwhelmed by the number of young people that came to the event, which is sort of, you know, one of the reasons with such engagement with the Portsmouth Pride Youth Society and why it is so important, because all of the things that we are doing as the older generation now fundamentally is what we're doing for the younger generation, the same way that our elders, you know, fought for the rights that we have now.
Yeah.
And Pride is a protest, and it always will be a protest, but it is a fabulous protest. And it's an opportunity to bring so much joy to individuals that, you know, maybe don't necessarily always feel that comfortable within themselves. And we've had some amazing stories about young people coming out to their parents, you know, whether that be LGBT or, you know, something, one of the other letters in the spectrum. And when we say it is for everyone, the whole reason the acronym has grown is because we as a society have grown and we want to include everyone. And I think for me, the A is one of the most maybe overlooked sometimes, but it is our allies, because we as LGBTQ plus people need our allies to help stand up and shout loud with us and for us. But yes, I was just going to pop on. We will, if you have any questions for myself or Zayna, then please do pop them in the comments, and we will come and have a look at those in a bit. But yes, sorry, gone off on a bit of a tangent. But yes, so I think 2003, when you guys started, I think I just passed my driving test then. So that's a very long time. But no, that's amazing. And we look at sort of the success of events like this, and I think Portsmouth Pride, there has been a Pride in Portsmouth since 2015, but we as an organisation have only, the first one that we pulled off, and I say pulled off, was in 2017, and I think we were amazed to have a couple of hundred people there, and that was amazing. And so, you know, the scale and numbers grow every year, and it grows because communities change. So, and I couldn't imagine what it'd be like to organise it over two areas of the city, because you guys kind of take over like the whole of Oxford.
Well, luckily they're kind of next to each other, so we were due to move to an even larger site, but we'd still have had the two sites this year, so we'll be maintaining that next year, so we'll be moving to an even larger site.
Wow. But
still having two sites, so we'll have the main stage. And you know, it involved me and my operations manager, who well, actually I used to call him my rock, now we call him Clark Kent, which was what he was christened by the production team, and Neil, and it was me and Neil on cold wet mornings with a tape measure measuring out fields and going, is there nobody to delegate this to? It's like, no. And then I wore my leather boots, and they weren't overly waterproof, so I had wet socks in wet leather boots in a field, freezing. And it's those
that people miss.
It's those bits, you know, people think that we rock up the last week of May and go, whoo, Pride Month, and we don't. We're working all year round. And one thing that's really come from this is Oxford Friend started an initiative called Queer Talk, which is a sober peer support drop-in space, and we used to run it from a cafe in Oxford, just outside the centre of Oxford. And we decided to try and take that online. So Oxford Pride took over running of it, and we decided to do it online, and we did that online, and that's something that we're going to be continuing. So it's called Queer Talk. There's links to it on our Facebook page, Oxford Pride, and it's just a drop-in. You have to kind of register, because obviously we want to keep these spaces safe, and you can drop in and just chat to people, because at the moment we kind of not. We're rolling out of bed, and I'm seeing this with clients, you know, we're rolling out of bed, we're going to work, we're working all day, we're not realizing that actually an hour on Zoom is like 2 hours in person, because you have this dissonance between your brain and your body. So you can see somebody there, but they're not actually there, and your brain is trying to balance that all the time, which makes it really tiring. And then they're going up, and then they're going back to bed. They're going for something to eat and then going back to bed. No processing time, no downtime, kind of feeling bad because you see people on your social media who have written a book, got a 6-pack, decorated their house, all of that. I've done none of that. Last time, I was joking with Neil the other day and I said, I haven't seen my abs since, about 1993. But it's... it's made us think about how we can engage all year round. So whether that's the Netflix movie parties that we're going to be doing every month, whether that is queer talk, whether that is putting something out there all the time. So people do recognize that we are here from June till June, standing in soggy fields and...
And I think it's one of the core points of with all prides, and we sort of, are part of our ethos and our maybe our mantra or tagline is it's more than just one day. Because for us, Pride is for all the organisers, Pride is more than just one day, because you spend so much time dealing with event plans, looking for suppliers, sourcing acts, and that really takes a team. We've been really lucky with the team that we've got at Portsmouth, but it's also that community engagement and making sure that we're putting on, and we really try and do it with events. So we have like a Battle of the Bands, we've had drag race events, we try and do variety shows to try and give different bits of entertainment, but also to give people an opportunity to come out, go to something that is different, because not everybody enjoys going to clubs, not everybody enjoys variety shows. People like different things. So trying to hit all those marks and give people an opportunity to have a conversation, to go out and to meet people. And we started this so that we can try and get people to engage in conversation, because we can't do those face-to-face events anymore. And it's going to be a while. It's going to take the whole country a while to rebound from COVID. And with that, as you're sort of saying, is mental health is playing a huge part in a lot of the things that we do as individuals, and being even just the homework separation. I know there's so many people that have been working, all the frontline staff who've been out there every day. That's extremely hard, because they're working ridiculous hours, and it's an even more stressful environment than it is normally. And then individuals like myself, I've been working the entire time through it, but I've had to work from home. I've had to limit going on to construction sites and things like that, because we've had to pull back. And even that, getting the separation between work and home is really difficult. And it's as you're saying, it's finding that time to where you would normally have your commute to work, and you'd have that drive home where you could kind of separate and let go of stuff. And even just talking with your colleagues, I think that's probably one of the more difficult things is just feedback from individuals. And I mean, obviously you must see it a lot with sort of your line of work and how this is impacting on people's sort of mental health.
Yeah, definitely. So I've kind of described this as the most unprepared but large scale mental health experiment this country has ever seen. And we didn't expect it. I've been seeing clients throughout, and it's meant that most people have kind of roughly gone through the same things at the same time. So at the very beginning is that kind of resentment, and then it takes about 10 days to acclimatize to isolation. So once people have got through that, they kind of settle down, and then you get all these messages of, you need to contact everybody you've ever, brushed shoulders with, otherwise you're a really bad person. Or I've been and learnt this, and I've been and done this, and therefore you haven't done that, so you're a bad person. And this all feeds into this comparison we have with each other of who's doing the most, there's a Jason Manford joke about who's the most tired in a house. If you're not the most tired, then you're not tired at all. And it has been like that. If you aren't the most down, then you're not down at all. And well, you know, you're not having to go into work, and yeah, that's fine and that's great, but lots of people are still working. There are lots of people who have lost their jobs, have lost their livelihoods, have lost their futures, and all of that. There's, you know, people are, and I know people who have been stuck in flats with no outdoor space, with no job, and that has impacted on everybody's mental health.
It's difficult when you don't have the things that you would normally do, and I guess the things to focus on, and society at the moment is kind of, everything is under a microscope, and it makes it, in you know, there's a massive amount of sort of fear. And I know from a majority of the like performers, a number of the professional performers, and it's, you know, their whole world is completely changed in a matter of days, and people are adapting, and that's great, but it doesn't change you know, all of those feelings and all of those stresses, because it's very difficult to you know, you have to find ways to deal with it and cope with it, and all the kind of normal things that individuals would do, like playing team sports or going out with your friends, all the things that you do to de-stress, you can't do anymore. You know, even though the restrictions are lightening, then it comes, you've got another whole other side of it, which is the anxiety of sort of going back out into the world, and what things are going to be like. And I know from, you know, personally for me, Portsmouth is it's a seaside town. There's been lots of people going out down the beaches, and, you know, so I'll, you know, go and do our daily exercise and go for a walk along the beach. And I'm just a little bit now, because I'm not used to it, it's so overwhelmed by the amount of people that are there. And it's, you know, it's what kind of, for people that are kind of struggling with stuff like this, what advice would you sort of give to them from a sort of professional point of view?
I would say give yourself some self-compassion. This is the amount of uncertainty that everybody is undergoing right now is huge. When we have to come to that point to go and go back out there, because we're all used to being in now. We're all used to, it's that swerve that you do around people in the street. It's the do I want to go out there? We've been told to fear it, and quite rightly so, because it's, I know people who have been actually in a coma through it.
I mean, it's very serious. Like, it's a very serious situation. It is a pandemic, and I think it's probably, it's one of the craziest things that, I mean, you couldn't ride 2020, to be perfectly honest. I wonder what 2020 will look like in the history books. But I think one of the positive things to kind of take from all of this uncertainty, all of these changes, is how well we have all adapted as like organizations and pride organizations to ensure that we can still engage with our community. And I feel like that voice and sense of community is probably the loudest that I've ever heard it in a really long time.
I think there's been some voices that have quite rightly been amplified that may have been silenced previously, and I think that is a molding together of lots of things that are taking place now. And as a POC, when I look at people, for instance, who need extra mental health support, even within the LGBTQIA plus community, you know, 42%. So this is an LGBT Foundation survey about COVID, and 42% would like to access support for mental health, whereas 66% of BAME LGBT people need to access mental health support. So when we talk about kind of systemic oppression, when we've got people who have religious pressures, familial pressures, work pressures, you know, not everybody is out at work. Not everybody is, you know, if you go to the LGBTQIA plus community, you know, kind of half of BAME LGBT people have faced discrimination within it. you would think as a marginalized community that everybody would be kind of like, we're all marginalized, we'll all get along. And that's not necessarily the case.
It takes a lot of courage, I think, to be out at work. And it takes even more of a step to be, you know, from, well, I can only really speak from sort of a Muslim background. I've been very lucky with my you know, my father's been my father and my Pakistani family have been extremely accepting of me, and you know, my lifestyle, and you know, my dad walked me down the aisle when I married my wife, or now ex-wife, but you know, and that was a huge thing, and it was I don't know, it's difficult to sort of do that. And I remember many years ago, I worked with an individual, and they were not out at work, and I had absolutely no idea that they were anywhere within the LGBTQ plus spectrum, and they told me, because they said that they were really inspired by me just being so open about it, and you know, obviously asked me not to sort of mention it, and I never have, up until this point. But you know, and that was, you know, it's their decision to do that. But I do find it's one of the most interesting things, because you have that moment where, and I guess every single LGBTQ plus person has this moment where someone, you say, oh well, you know, me and my partner this, and then someone will use a pronoun, and you have that moment, that kind of like millisecond, to think, am I going to correct them, or am I just not going to say anything? And you have to come out to everyone every single day. You have to come out to someone, and that's not something that you can. It's a really peculiar experience, and I think the only time I've ever had the reverse, and I found this really, it was a really sweet and almost humbling experience, was when we do a lot of work with the LAGLOs, which in Portsmouth, so we've got the lesbian and gay liaison officers for...
Yeah, we have them in Oxford.
Oh, brilliant. So we really try to obviously promote to individuals that if you are a victim of a crime, you are entitled to a LAGLO, regardless of whether it is a hate crime or not. And that's the thing that sometimes people aren't aware of. And we were speaking with the lead for the LAGLOs, and they do this obviously the same in Oxford. It's a volunteer part of their job that they do as well on top of it, and they have specialist training. And the head of the LAGLOs, Dean, he really lovely guy, and myself and Aaron were kind of sitting down having a chat with him about how we can get community engagement. And then he's like, I have to tell you something. So we were like, right, okay. And he's like, just so you know, I'm not gay. I'm straight, and I'm married to a woman, but you know, it doesn't change. You know, I do this job because I think it's important, and you know, so then kind of gave us all the reasons to justify the fact that he wasn't gay and he was doing it. And, you know, and we sort of said to him, so you were probably that's the closest thing that you'll get to having to come out to someone, which is what we have to do every day. And I just, it was one of those moments, I think, with all the stuff going on with Pride, it was really nice. And it's not something I've ever really thought about until we kind of start going over these things. You think, actually, do you know what? I do that all the time. You take that judgment as to, am I going to correct them? Is it worth it? Am I going to be involved with this person enough that they need to know this piece of information? And it just kind of becomes second nature.
I guess I'm in a bit of a dissonant position in that professionally I can't be out, but anybody's got to Google me and see that my orientation is bisexual, because I come up all over Google. So it's not something. It's just like, I can't say I am, but it's obvious I am because it's everywhere. And so you have this position, and that actually helps clients. This is a ridiculous thing, is that I did an interview for Unicorn, which is the Bi Pride magazine, talking about being a queer therapist, and it says in there about, you know, I'm bisexual, and I actually had somebody contact me and go, wow, I wanted to come see you because you could say that. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of shouldn't really say that. But it's so obvious and it's so much public knowledge, you know, on lots of the Oxford Pride kind of websites and things like that. There's a picture of me draped in the Bi Plus flag. Now, you know, it's kind of obvious. And a few years ago, I wrote a blog post about coming out, and it was for National Coming Out Day. And I wrote it about, you know, this is National Coming Out Day. That's fantastic if you feel the need to come out. As a bisexual female in a heteronormative marriage, I feel the need to come out every day. Somebody is going, well, so you're involved with Pride? And I'm like, yeah. And but you're not gay. You're married to a bloke. I'm like, you're spot on. I am married to a bloke. No, I'm not gay. But there are other letters in that acronym.
And I think that's one of the things that, you know, we, as Pride organisations, and one of the things that I quite, I find that has been really maybe reaffirming is the diversity of individuals that are involved. And, you know, the fact that with Portsmouth Pride, no one really cares. I mean, we do, as a point, you kind of have to live your life quite openly. And as you're saying, like, professionally, you're not sort of, you don't shout it from the rooftops, as it were, but you do in the other aspects of your life, because you are involved in Portsmouth, in Oxford Pride. And as
no, I don't want another one. I don't want another
you can't get involved. You come help me out. But and it is, we kind of, you know, I take the, I don't hide it at work. I don't try and hide it at work, and it's got to the point now for me that it's not really, you know, I try to not even worry about it and think about it. But I know when I was in my 20s, it was quite a stressor, and you know, I think the first job that I was in, I worked in engineering, so I worked with a bunch of like 40-year-old blokes. I was the only woman to ever be hired in the 50-year history of the company to work in the tool room. I didn't tell people I was gay because it was a terrifying kind of thing to do. But I also think that with sort of what you're saying as well with that is it's you're right with what it is you want to share and what it is you don't want to share, and you shouldn't feel bad about that if you don't want to. And I also think it is difficult because bisexual individuals do, I feel sometimes within the gay community, and I'd like to think that, you know, things have changed a lot in the last decade, but it is still kind of, especially if you're, I'm having too many trains of thought, but if you are a bisexual person in a heterosexual relationship, there sometimes is you know, people want you to explain and define it because they can't get their heads around it. And it's like, just because you're with someone of the opposite gender doesn't change the fact that you are bisexual.
No, I always say, you know, no, still bi. No, still bi. I'm not automatically straight just because I'm with the male. Still bi. And people, you do, you know, bi pride exists because bisexual plus people are discriminated against within the acronym. And again, you've got this, well, we're all marginalized. Why are we all having a cheap, and they are cheap pops, you know, you're greedy, you haven't picked a side, you know, you will be gay in the end. And you get those comments on such a regular basis. And it's just as bad as the "where are you really from" question, or the "can I touch your hair" question, or and it's all about, it's none of your business actually. And why do you feel I need to have some sort of stamp in my passport? And I have been asked, have you ever slept with a woman? How do you know you're bi? Have you ever slept with a woman? And I do answer it truthfully.
Personal questions that you wouldn't normally have to justify. And I think the only positive from this really is that I think that it is watching, having been involved with a number of the things that the Youth Society do, it's really amazing to see how open these young people's minds are to all the different facets of it, from bisexuality to pansexual to gay, trans, and it's this beautiful melting pot of acceptance, and this is why, you know, things like all of the work that we do as part of our prides is so important. Is it is for the next generation that are going to kind of grow up, become the adults that are going to take the take over from us, and you know, be more accepting. And I know that when I was younger, it was very much that, you know, individuals who sort of identified as bi, it was, yeah, you got asked a lot of those questions. And the same, it's like, you know, gay women today still get asked, you know, how do you know you're gay? Have you ever been with a man? And it's like, how is that appropriate? It's not, you know, I sometimes refuse to answer those questions, and then ask the individual if they have ever been with a man, and how do they know that they're straight? And
exactly. How do you know you're straight? Are you kind of saying that everybody is born heterosexual and then at some point they discover they're not? But actually, no, it's kind of a mixture of nurture and nature. And as long as we are still, and I used to do this a lot, I didn't come out till I was in my 30s, right? And, you know, I used to do what Cutie Pox would call code switching. So code switching is where it's a linguistic term, actually. It means to change languages.
Okay.
But for Cutie Pox, it means to tone down any part of you for acceptance. And one of the biggest codes, you know, I live in rural Oxfordshire. You know, my mum was a single parent in the 70s with a mixed heritage baby. You know, it wasn't that much fun, to be honest. And one of the biggest code switches I did was I used to straighten my hair. I used to chemically straighten my hair. And
because that's what everyone else looks like, and that's what everyone else, and it makes you fit in.
Yeah, and it's you can't be professional unless you've got poker straight hair. And so I used to straighten it, and I used to also, you know, I wanted to be Kelly Rowland, so I used to bleach it and dye it bright red and all of this stuff, and I ended up with hair that was like a couple of inches long. So I ended up I actually wore wigs for a couple of years, and now I don't do anything to my hair apart from I might possibly dye the roots. And so, you know, I learned that this is my hair, but there are still environments where I have to code switch, where I have to tone down the fact that I'm married to a man, or the fact that I'm bisexual plus, or, you know, the fact that I have a mixed heritage. And so that still continues.
But I think that, like, with that I can relate to it. And I think that when I was younger, and I'm sure there's probably millions of people that do this, and you play the pronoun game. And when you first meet someone, you always talk about my partner, them, they, their, because you wouldn't want to say she, because, or, you know, it's in some cases he, because it was something that could be seen negatively. It could change people's opinions of you, even though they've stood there and had a conversation with you for the best part of an hour. You know, the fact that they could find out that you're gay would be, you know, that would totally change their opinion. And the same, you know, with my dad being Muslim, it was something that I was proud of when I was younger. And then when, after everything that happened with 9/11, there was a real switch. And again, it would be something that I wouldn't talk about. I wouldn't really mention. People would ask me if I was Mediterranean or Spanish, and I'd just be like, no. Just give people deadpan answers to end that conversation, because I wouldn't want to talk about it. I wouldn't want to be like, oh no, actually, I'm half Pakistani. You know, my dad moved over to England when he was 3 years old. You know, if you speak to him, he just sounds like a bloke that grew up in Manchester. But, you know, and it's these would be the things that you would hide to just kind of make yourself feel a little less vulnerable, I think. And it's wonderful to see, for a lot of the younger people that we work with, how free they are. And I wish that I could could have been that free when I was their age, it warms my heart. It makes me really happy for them. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, we kind of do the things that we do. And it's, you know, from my perspective, if anybody is watching and you are from the BAME community and you want to get involved in the Oxford area, in the Portsmouth area, if you're in any area, there's so many wonderful Pride organisations out there, and I know that they would be really happy to have you. So please, if you just get involved, find out your local Pride and just drop them an email and have a chat with someone. Or if you want contacts, then, you know, drop us an email and I'm more than happy to put you in touch with one of the organisers from Pride or your local Pride. But yeah, so no, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to make a real difference and to, you know, get a front seat for some of the changes that are happening. And hopefully we as individuals and as organisations can make some more changes and help everyone to live in a world where we are all equal. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yes, in utopian society where we're all equal and we don't have to, you know, we don't have to block people who are our friends on Facebook because of stuff they've been posting lately, where we don't have to feel that we have to, me too, you know, where we don't have to put ourselves out there and be ridiculed and be gaslighted and minimized and othered. And I was having a conversation with a head of a school once, and they said, look, you know, I hear what the kids are saying, and this comes from the parents around ethnicity, around sexuality and gender, around relationship diversity, and they said, how do you put up with that kind of attitude coming at you? And I said, you know, any opportunity I get to speak, I take it, because if I'm given the opportunity to speak, I have a voice, even if nobody listens, right?
But there might be that one person that listens, and it makes a difference to them. Absolutely.
But if I'm not even asked to have a seat at the table, and we're not even talking about, we all know who owns the table, right? You know, then I'm othered. I have no voice. I have no chance. And there's been some really amazing things that have come of kind of all the stuff that's going on lately. So even today, I'm doing I'm in two places at once. I'm doing a takeover on sassifyzine.com.
Yes, I did see that.
You know, I've got an animation. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I know. It's really cool.
I'm just like, I'm an animation. I'm easily pleased. And, you know, to be given those opportunities to go, you know, nobody is perfect. Nobody is doing everything all the time. You know, I'm at home working. My husband is at home working. We've got, you know, kids milling around that we're homeschooling as well as we possibly can. And then, you know, luckily my youngest has gone back full time, which has been amazing. And that the school has been absolutely fantastic. And I think to anybody that's watching this that's thinking, oh, I don't want to send my kid back to school, you know, that they've missed a lot already. And
even if you do the best that you possibly can do to keep up with all the homeschooling, and I know you joke about it, but you know, when you're doing it, fundamentally you can't teach kids everything, because that's you know, that you don't have the knowledge. I mean, I'd be wonderful at teaching maths because I did it from part of my degree, but when it comes to spelling and grammar, you know, even on Facebook posts, I have to get my girlfriend to check anything that I put just to make sure I've used the right "your."
Yeah, totally. You know, my husband is a teacher, right? And he's teaching other people's children, and you know, and we're struggling to teach our own. And so if we, you know, we will get through this, and this will end, and this won't be easy. And we've all lost, and we've all known people who, particularly recently, we're in Reading, and you know, it's a community in mourning.
It is 100%, and you know, it's devastating what has happened, especially amongst everything else that's going on. And you know, all of us, from you know, I mean, I speak obviously for all the guys at Portsmouth. You know, our hearts go to all the guys at Reading, with everything that they're going through, and the victims and the family and the whole community. There is devastating to have something like that happen on your doorstep, especially in this time as well, with everything else that's going on. But
yeah, absolutely. So we actually sent them a letter sent Reading Pride a letter of support, because we kind of felt that we wanted to do something and just go, look, we're here because we're your neighbours, and what's affected you affects everybody. And yeah, is my heartfelt sympathy goes out to everybody in that situation. And it's something that as prides, and we're looking at kind of security around prides, and that we do, that has to be a consideration for everyone.
Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that it's safe spaces, and it's safe on every level of that, and it's safe from any kind of violence or abuse, or you know, even derogatory behavior and language. You know, we want to give people a place where they can be free to be who they are, and it's wonderful when we get the opportunity to do that. And I think COVID has really impacted on the ability for that, but next year it will be bigger, it will be better. I know that I'm sure that Oxford will probably be able to hear you guys all the way down in Portsmouth.
Do you know what? We've already started planning. We've already booked some acts. Because so when I took over, the chair's post was made up to 2 years. So I was chair for 2020 and 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're already looking forward to Pride next year. We had, you know, a couple of years ago, we got together and got some codes of conduct for performers, for attendees, and because it's really important that we're going like, no, we won't have that here. You might think that's acceptable somewhere else, but that's not acceptable in this space. That language, that attitude, whatever it is, don't bring it here.
Yeah, you want it to be a positive place where people can be free to be who they are without any fears of like persecution, or you know, to be victimized in any way, shape or form. And even, you know, even name calling, like it's just a no. I am going to just check in with Chantel, our producer. I didn't know if we've got any questions that have come up, because I realised we've just been gassing away.
Just we go, like I've been here just melting slowly, like Olaf.
I've just been nodding away to my computer, like yes. We haven't got any questions, but we've got a comment from Kim, who's one of our committee members. Sorry, and she said that as an ally, she gets a lot of the same comments that you guys do too, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. Kim's our vice chair, and she's also our fundraising lead. So she puts on a lot of the fundraising events, and you know, community engagement as well. And her 3 daughters are really involved in Pride, and they are all allies. They do it because they want to stand up for the community. They're part of our queer family. And yeah, I guess there's that automatic assumption that you have to be gay or lesbian to be involved in Pride, and actually there's so many more letters on that acronym, sort of, as we said, that includes everyone, because that's what it, you know, we're here to create a safe space for everyone to be who they want to be.
And I guess we don't want an us and them kind of scenario. As long as you've got a good attitude and you want equality and stuff for everyone, then everyone's welcome, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
They are definitely welcome. If anybody would like to come and stand in a rainy cold field on a December morning, then please come along.
Yeah, I don't miss those days. This is why we moved our event from September to June, is so that we could miss all the bad weather.
Well, this was us measuring up. So because it was the first time that we'd been back on that site for quite a while, we wanted to be able to kind of go, okay, so I want this there, because I was insisting on things like I wanted the stage ramp access, I wanted an accessibility path because it was a field, I wanted, and that's not only for wheelchair users or anybody with extra accessibility needs, that's also for pushchair users.
Yeah.
You know, if you pushed a pushchair across a field, you'll know that when you have to turn it around and pull it, right, you'll know that's a difficult surface to get across. And I wanted a Mobiloo we'd booked for this year. So we'd been really working hard and looking at the Attitude is Everything accessibility charter, and trying to really make sure we were putting in things like BSL. Yeah. And really putting our money where our mouth is, having our headliner as a POC. Those things that, you know, you go to Pride and you look at the lineup and you're just like, okay, there's some great BAME performers out there, but we're not always seeing them represented on our stages. So I was really lucky enough to talk at the launch of LGBT History Month last year, and well, it was this year, but they have the launch in the November before. And I went, we are going to put our money where our mouth is. Nobody gets on that stage unless they have been kind of agreed and there is some diversity on that stage.
We've been really keen to ensure that we have as much diversity as we can possibly find, and we also aim to try and promote a lot of local performers as well, because there's so many performers that get involved in our fundraisers, so to give them an opportunity to be able to perform on a main stage. And I think, you know, we have the kind of consensus as well, and we were really lucky to have Big Brother and Beauty Love last year. They went down an absolute treat, and they were just really nice group of people as well, so it was really lovely. And yeah, this year we had a lot of I don't know all of the acts that were listed, but we have an amazing entertainment team that really search high and low to try and find different acts, bands.
And you've got to look for them. Yeah. You've got, you know, these people aren't just going to come and land in your lap and go, hey, we're here. You've got to go out there and you've got to find them. And that's why we have our community stage, which has community acts, and anybody can apply to come and perform on the community stage. And you know, because we want people to come and get involved, we want engagement, and we had, if you look at our social media like reach, we actually had more reach doing our online festival this year than we did last year when we did it all in person.
That's crazy.
That's interesting.
And now is that we are getting into, you know, if you think how easy it is to do something on your phone and nobody needs to know what you're doing, are we then tapping into the people that wouldn't want to come to Pride?
Yeah, it's kind of that a little bit of the fear of the unknown. And it's like, if you can kind of, you know, put things out there and people can kind of see what's going on, they'll be more inclined to think, actually, do you know what? Yeah, this is for me, which is why we've been trying in the last year to diversify the events that we've got, so that during the calendar year there's lots of different things going on, which our main Pride event is kind of the culmination of all of that. So yes, I am going to bring it to a close, just because otherwise we're going to be here for hours. But yes, thank you, Zayna, so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I would definitely, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to keep doing these week in, week out. So I will be hitting you up next year to come back and tell us about Oxford Pride 2021. And totally. I'll bug you at the next conference anyway, so you can't forget about it. So yeah, thank you so much. It's been really lovely to talk to you. And yes, and again, if there's anything that we can do to help you guys out, then give us a shout, and I will rally the troops for Portsmouth, and I'm pretty sure we will be heading up to Oxford for your 2020
Well, you know, we do like a bit of a volunteer swap, so
okay. I'm sure that we can. I'll twist some arms. I'm sure it won't be too hard.
Charlie, whilst we're here,
we'll get a coach.
Did you want to run through who we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks?
Yes. Okay. Yes. In the next couple of weeks, we'll let you pop off, Zayna, because I'm sure that you want to.
I'm going to turn to the side and sit in front of my fan for another 5 minutes while I'm just like falling into my desk. But yeah, if anybody wants to find anything out about Oxford Pride, it's oxfordpride.uk, and you can email me at chair@oxfordpride.uk. And thank you so much for having me on.
That's great. We'll pop all your details at the bottom of the video. So if you guys do want to get in touch with Zayna, or you want to check out more what Oxford Pride is doing, we'll get some links in there for you. And Zayna, thank you so much again for coming on. We really appreciate it.
I've loved it. And you know me and you, we can just be like, so like part two, whenever you like.
Okay, brilliant. See you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Yes.
Thank you, Chantal, for all of your hard work today with all of the images, and it's the bar thing. You told me what it is. It's graphic. It's a graphic. This is why I don't do the technical stuff.
Whatever you want to call it.
As Shan said, what we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. Next Tuesday, we'll be speaking to Claire DeLune. You guys will know her from all of the things that Claire's done with Pride, from our fundraising events, our variety shows, the drag race, winning on the the All Stars, and winning Battle of the Bands the year before last, and being a judge on our Battle of the Bands this year. She has been all over Portsmouth Pride, and we'll get an opportunity to sit down with her and chat a little bit more about her drag and the things that have been fun for her and what she's been doing over lockdown, which is probably not been as much fun. Then we're going to be having the opportunity in the same week to speak with Andy. They are from Chrysalis. Andy is the CEO of Chrysalis. So we'll be talking with them about everything that's going on at the moment with regards to the trans community, and just getting some more information, giving us an opportunity to learn and to ask some questions. So if you've got any questions that you want to ask for either one of those, then drop us an email, and if not, tune in, and we'll be picking up comments as we go through the conversations. And we will have, as of July, we're going to be moving, after we've spoken with Andy, we're going to be moving to a Wednesday, and we're going to be doing it here on Facebook and also on YouTube. So yes, hopefully you will join us and enjoy it. And if you've got any topics that you would like us to discuss, or you have something that you would like to share, then please drop us an email at info@portsmouthpride.org.uk. I think that about covers it, right, Shan?
Yeah, that sounds like a good little roundup.
But yes, so thank you very much, Shan, for helping me out today, and thank you everyone who has sit here and listened to me gas away for an hour with the amazing Zayna from Oxford Pride. And we will see you on Tuesday. So have a good one. Bye.
Bye.